All right, attention all entrepreneurs and business owners out there, we know you are listening. Are you ready to work on your big picture, but you're feeling the limitations of your current business? Perhaps you're experiencing stagnation, limitations in your growth, a lack of dream clients, inconsistencies across your messaging, and you're unsure about your vision of the future. We understand your pain as all businesses go through this process at some stage of their journey. That's why this March in 2023, we are excited to launch our 8-week Purpose Accelerator program. Join Rix and myself and a small group of entrepreneurs to uncover your purpose, craft a strategy for execution, and tap into your potential for growth and success. Throughout the 8 sessions, you will discover your unique purpose, craft a purpose-led strategy that's in line with your big picture, begin to attract opportunities rather than have to sell and convince, and create cohesion across all your messaging and brand touchpoints. So are you ready to make more money and more impact doing what you truly love? At WordPlay Studio, we have a wealth of experience facilitating these types of transformational journeys for some of Australia's fastest growing companies. It's time to transform yourself, your business, and align with your purpose this year. Don't miss out on this opportunity as spaces are limited. And to take the next step, all you need to do is click the link below, book your free discovery session with Rix and myself, and we'll meet you shortly. Now enjoy this episode of Design on Purpose.
Welcome to another episode of Design on Purpose, the WordPlay Studio podcast. Today we will be having a little chat around our year in review, and joined in the studio is myself, Rix, Tom,
Ethan.
and our awesome intern, Ethan.
Awesome intern. I like that title.
If you don't already, like and subscribe. You can follow us at wordplaystudio.com, at WordPlay Studio. Also at Design on Purpose on Instagram.
And TikTok.
And TikTok.
Don't forget TikTok.
Don't forget the
TikTok.
Tickers. Tickers is getting a little bit of momentum. The Instagram's really pumping up. So if you're on the gram, make sure you land on the Design on Purpose page to see the clips.
So guys, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. How are you, Ethan?
Good.
It's Ethan's first
My first
part.
breaking him in.
We had to rope him in, and it doesn't count for his intern hours. So he was
No,
really pissed.
unfortunately not. Couldn't work that one in there, unfortunately.
I'm sure we could do something about
We
it.
can sort something out later.
Well, thanks for agreeing to sit down with us, Ethan.
It's all right. No worries, guys.
Hopefully it's not too daunting. I'm sure we're going to have a good chat.
Nah.
We're usually having good chats behind the scenes anyway, aren't we? So
Yeah. Just gonna get used to it.
yeah, get used to the cameras.
It it does take a little while.
Yeah.
Like I felt, I still feel a bit like I forced myself to do the intro today. It's not like
It doesn't flow. It's like you gotta
I
try
feel a bit nervous doing it, but I'm
Yeah.
forcing myself to do it now. But
Yeah. I think once you start going, it becomes easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the
so.
nerves are like a wave you start to ride. It's like you feel them rise and you just got to jump on and just
Get you.
go for it. And then you're like down the face and you're like, woohoo, let's go. That's how I look at it.
You've had like 20 episodes of intros.
Yeah, you guys are like veterans at this
They
point.
still make you nervous
Tom's-
though. You go, you look at the person and you go,
Still,
ooh.
like after that many episodes,
I don't
you
know.
still get
Well, because you got to start the conversation
Yeah.
from this awkward position of like, you're already talking and then it stops the flow and you're like, we're going to start the episode.
Yeah.
And then you got to
That's very
start again
true.
and it's like this formal like thing you've got to do.
So you're all
So,
just lost there, like, wait, what were we talking about? You gotta go back to that.
and usually sometimes people start saying things before the episode starts that you're like, no, stop saying this. We need to save it for the
Save
pod.
it.
Yeah, save it. Don't tell me that right now. I don't want to fake my reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Even with that, like, I noticed with myself, just because all the lights and everything, and still getting used to it. But I'd be sometimes I'd be a bit stuck in that where all of a sudden I'm like, I've got this dialogue going in my head where I'm like, well, I can hear what the conversation's going on, and then I would have something to say, and then all of a sudden I would forget it, and then I'd start panicking, going, "Oh no,
yeah,
I
I do
had
that.
something to say, now I don't remember what I was going to ask."
Or you've got something to say and then like you ask a question and then you're like, it takes the conversation that way and you're like, oh no, my question, it was going to go, and then you're like, oh, you got to like catch up to where the conversation's
They ask you to
going.
repeat it, and then you just can't repeat it. You just completely forgotten.
Or
it.
you
It's like,
ask
try
the
and
same
remember
question
it.
and you're like, oh no, that was mine. I was going to say that.
pretty sure. Yeah, damn, they took that one.
But it's been a good practice though, hasn't it, of just being present. Like,
Yeah.
I think we said it on the first time we had a guest with Nelson, which it went for like 2 hours or or something. It was a long one.
Yeah.
But it's like, when are you ever that present, you know, with somebody in conversation where you don't touch your phone, you don't have a break, you're just in like constant focus with somebody, deep, like connected conversation. It's pretty rare. So it is a cool sort of thing to learn, podcasting, because you really got to be
Social
present.
skills for
It's like
sure.
really being present, because as soon as you slip out of your train of thought, you know, you lose the flow, and it's you just need to drop into it. So
That's it.
It's very good practice for facilitation, I find.
Mm-hmm.
Just being that present, really listening. And it takes a little bit of stamina, because sometimes you're having, like when we had Graham on, like he was talking about some really there's a lot of detail.
Really
The
need to pay
content, it was
attention.
very dense content.
Yeah.
So just to stay with it and, you know, to absorb what he's saying and then come back with convo was you had to really be there.
Be present in the
What did he call it?
conversation.
Like something from a fire hose? What did he say?
it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Drinking from a fire hose. That
And
guy
you're
was like a
so-
Rain Man. He's like rattling
Good
off all these
analogy.
figures and everything. I'm like,
Talking really fast.
really fast.
Yeah.
Fast. And Ethan was here listening. So
I was. I
for
noticed that.
those who don't, or we've just introduced Ethan, but Ethan is behind the scenes a lot of the time on the pod. So he's
Graphic designer hiding in the corner, staying away from the social media side. Till
and
now.
then we slowly start to
Yeah.
shine the light your way, and you're like, oh,
You're like, oh, maybe. No, we're
yeah, it's cool. So, where are we going today, Rix? You've got some ideas.
Oh,
on-
I've just got some. I was listening to that Paul Check year in review thing that you sent, but and I do have some questions around that stuff, which is interesting. But I guess just to kind of give a bit of a summary and a cap of our year last year and the studio and our lives and the podcast and the guests and what we learnt. So I guess just as a first point, you know, and obviously Ethan, you know, joining the team and getting in here and doing quite a few hours that didn't count.
I just slipped that one and backstab me. Yeah, I'm still hurting from that one.
No, because I think it's an interesting. I mean, obviously you speak for yourself, but just in terms of when we finished design school, we didn't have. I found that the really big piece of what we missed when we left design school was around process.
Yeah.
And I think that our studio is very unique in that way, because we almost, you know, whether it was fate or whatever it was, we actually met these amazing teachers that were really all about process.
Yeah.
And so we've really taken that on and really embedded that into the way that we work here in WordPlay, and I think that's quite unique, and it's something that I wish that I knew more about when I was at design school. So it's, from your perspective, I mean, coming in here, I mean, it would have been quite funny. Like, what was that like when you rocked up here?
It was weird because, like, Jeffrey, when he was like talking about the job and stuff, he's like, you'll be working in like a graphic design studio. So I was like, all right. But then, like, in the first week of working with you guys, I was like, oh, this is completely different to what I've been told and what other like students I've talked to. Like, not in a bad way, but just like it wasn't what I was expecting. But I've grown to know that, like, the way the guys like conduct stuff here, it's like, and like the purpose around a brand, it's something they don't really touch in uni. And, you know, like you were saying, you don't really ever learn about this stuff. You're more learning like how to use the platforms, use these tools to like go out and find clients and stuff. But they never really teach you about like a purpose of a brand or a business and how to fix these sort of problems. So it's been very eye-opening for sure.
That's cool.
But yeah.
And like, what are your, have you mentioned any of this stuff to your classmates?
Yeah, well, like some of the students are also doing like work experience as well, but they find that they're doing like very small jobs, and they don't have a lot of engagement with what's going on. They feel like they're just rocking up to work and they're getting given like, you know, we need some social media posts done, or we need you to do like some social work or stuff like that. But it's like,
we need those too, Ethan.
yeah, we're getting there.
So
But like, and then the stuff, like the sort of stuff that I tell them, you know, like, oh, I'm like only a few months in and I'm working on like a comprehensive brand guidelines, and I'm pretty much, they've just given me this document to work through. It's like, they're just like, what the hell? Like, how are you doing that?
It was a big one.
Yeah.
It was a big one, wasn't it?
But yeah, like they're just kind of like, they just don't seem to be doing as much. Like, I think I'm just very grateful to be able to, like, the amount of that I've learned here in a small amount of time has just been like, yeah, will be the highlight of last year for sure.
Awesome.
Well,
Us too.
you definitely rose to the challenge. I think it was like, on our first kind of session,
Oh man,
doing the kind of onboarding onto the project, onto
Yeah.
the one of the projects,
yeah,
the first one. I remember just giving you the full download of like this, the process to how we
It's
got
like
to
a
where
whole
we
day.
were.
Get
Just
these
to give some
files over as
context
well.
to people listening, like this was something we won't mention the client, but we were working on a national emergency service. Probably it's the biggest volunteer organisation is it the world?
Of its kind in the world.
Of its
yeah.
kind in the
Yeah.
world.
I think it has like 200 or like a lot of separate registered organizations within it. So it's
Yeah.
like a very complex organization and unique organization because not many others are like that anyway.
yeah,
So it was it wasn't just like, okay, here's the job. This is this is
style
what we need to
guide,
create,
here's
A, B, C, D. It was like a very, and I think with these sorts of larger transformation projects, you need to understand the thinking of the process, like we're talking about. Like if we just said, oh, okay, Ethan, here's your list of assets to create with no context of why you're creating them in the first place, you wouldn't understand. You're not learning really. You might be able to flex your design skills in Illustrator or whatever, but it's like,
it might
okay,
not have
why are
anything
we?
to do with the brand? It might not have anything to do with what like they stand for and stuff. And then it's like pointless designs.
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
like getting you to, like getting anyone to understand whether they've been at along the process from the beginning or getting on like halfway.
Yeah,
It's like really understanding the process of why, where you're at in the journey, what needs to be done, and why you're actually doing it. So
yeah,
it's I think, and
That's it.
it's fun. It's fun in like because a lot of the time we're working in teams most of the time, like on projects, but not. It's been good to have you in here in the shack,
yeah.
and we've both been able to really just kind of share all the, share what's needed as it arises. So it's been fun like that.
It's been the best way to learn, I reckon. Like I was saying, like other students just don't have that engagement. Whereas like I felt when I started here, I was pretty much part of the team straight away. You guys had me like
100%. You definitely fit
in the
the
deep
culture.
end with you, like straight away. Like there was
Yeah.
no like progression or like easing up to it. I was like, all right, here's this massive document. It's all yours. I was just like, oh my God. God damn. But yeah, no, it was awesome.
Well, that's it. That's how I always found learning is just diving in the deep end and
Yeah.
working it out.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it, I reckon.
Yeah.
You learn too quick.
So you've passed the first deep
And
dive. There's going to be more to come, I'm sure, soon.
lot more to come.
Yeah, and I guess like the year that we've had, it's been we've moved up here, we've moved up to the Northern Rivers, had a bit of a change.
It's been
like a year and a half.
whole year up here. Yeah,
Yeah, a whole year.
Had a whole year up here.
And we've recorded
21.
20. This is 21. 21. This will be our 21st podcast. Well, 21st Design on Purpose podcast. And we've had some really amazing people come through here. A lot of learnings around just the podcasting in general. Like what kind of stuff did we learn this year around that? Can you think of anything that?
Well, it'd be good. I feel like we should explain a little bit about why we started the podcast as well. Like,
Yeah,
and
let's do it.
what's the sort of reason why we're doing it? Because a lot of people, and it's funny because so many people think that we podcast. Like a lot of people now think we're podcasters as our
That's it.
as our
main
occupation. But it's like we are that, but that's not. We actually have a design agency that is which produces the podcast. And I think if for anyone watching, you might have already seen some episodes, but the first 10 episodes we did just Rix and myself, and it was just one-on-one, and we spoke about a lot of stuff around wordplay, story stuff, purpose, NFTs, all kinds of things that we're learning at the time, and just having conversations around that. And then the second 10, which we've just completed, we had guests. And the idea of the guests were to really, well, we've had a few different styles of guests, but part one, and you can add more to this, but one idea is why we've got the guests we have on are people that we aspire to either work with or build relationships with in some way. And the podcast is a great medium to create space to invite or have something to invite somebody to when if you're dealing with people that are quite busy, it's hard to lock them down. But for some reason, podcast is this great way to invite people into your worlds and have a conversation that's got really no strings attached, and you can just kind of shoot the shit and share your stories, and it's a great way to build. Like, we've built relationships, like everybody that's been on the podcast, we've like really upped if we had a previous relationship with them, it's changed the relationship to become something else. It's been like a bit of a transformation in its own way, from a relationship perspective.
And it was a learning curve. Like, we designed that intentionally. Like, we did the first 10 on our own because we thought, okay, well, we had coaching from Nelson, who's our producer here at Vibes Creative, who's also got his own podcast called the Creative Grit Podcast. So check that one out. Huh?
Down below.
Oh yeah, down below. Check in the link. No, but he just had us on that podcast last week actually, and that'll be out in the next couple of weeks. But just his advice to us was to just do the first 10 episodes on your own and just kind of learn to be able to hold a conversation and bounce around in the podcast kind of format. And so we did that, and then there were some learnings around cameras. When we first started, we were recording with an iPhone, and then we upgraded. For the next season, we upgraded the camera. Remember?
Did we have an iPhone at the beginning?
Yeah, we were using my phone.
Oh, as the wide angle.
Yeah,
that's right.
So just little iterations. Next thing we'll probably get a light box. For the top there, like just slowly kind of improving things as we go. It would be good to get an SLR in here at some point, but. Then when we started having guests on, that was a whole nother thing, because then you've got to kind of learn to know when each of you are going to speak, which we do naturally anyway, just through working with clients. And
I feel like that's the hardest part. It's like not wanting to talk over someone.
Yeah, well, we have been going to meetings together for like 10 years, so probably longer.
Yeah. You guys are already just veterans.
So we kind of are in tune with each other in that way. So I think that was, but it is a different context, like doing it in a podcast. Yeah. Because there is the person, but then there's also like there's an audience out there somewhere. So you kind of got to, be aware of that as well. Yeah.
The fourth wall here.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And the first guest that we had on was, who was Nelson. Nelson, our producer Nelson, and he was epic. He was like full power, like, he'd had experience with podcasting, and he just went for it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was great. And we all of them were great. And I learnt so much from every single one.
Yeah. There's been a lot of good conversation. Something
that you also learn is around the hooks that you have when you're speaking, like your language. I think it's definitely helped me it's still not perfect, but it's definitely helped me to stop using certain hooks in my language.
And body language as well.
Body language, you really like paying attention to how you're moving.
Where your hands are going.
Yeah, it's been me this whole time. I'm just like switching around here. So I'm like, what's the best way to do it?
And keeping the mic.
Microphone.
Having a relationship with the microphone.
Getting comfy and... Yeah, just like lighting, simple little things that you can do that can just really improve. Like even just the tiles, working on what the right messaging is to put on the highlights.
Yeah.
Or like the reels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the episode titles.
Yeah.
There's probably more we could optimize with that. People get really into the whole like the YouTube.
That's right. That's
titles.
right. But in saying that, we're not actually podcasters. We are doing a podcast, but that's not our actual. That's not what we do here at WordPlay, which is what you were talking about before. Whereas now you see people around and they're going, "Oh, how's the podcast?" They think you're a podcaster, and they have no idea that you're working in like complex systems change or design and yeah. So it's kind of now we need to work on that part of it a bit more.
It's like lifting the perception of like now design on purpose became a thing. That it has its own sort of stream of content and conversation, and then wordplay is sort of it needs to come up as well with it. And social media just takes so long as well. Well, not just social media, like the podcast, but everything. It's a huge investment, but it's so worth it when you start the journey.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think I like need to improve on. I'm like a ghost when it comes to social media. Just never post, never put a story. Like all my mates are the same. Like it's like we post like maybe twice a year. It's bad.
Well, the thing is, you get to a point where it doesn't work. That, you know, depending on what your ambitions are with your life and your career and stuff. But, you know, I've been sort of like that. I've always had different accounts and stuff, like whether it was like earlier on or like posting it with Wordplay and then design purpose, and then it's like, you know, I wouldn't post much on my own account either. Yeah. And now I'm at this point where it's like, okay, in order to keep growing as an individual to where I want to be, and same with you, it's like with us, and it will be the same for you. Yeah. Which is what I'm getting at in terms of like, it's better to start early, because you get to a point where you're like, shit, if I've been investing just a little bit more earlier on, not only do you have a track of your story on some platform that people can see, you're building credibility and you're building that muscle, because now it's like we're building this muscle now, you know, at where we're at, when, you know, if we did it earlier, which we've done a few different things. We built another podcast earlier on and stuff, but and you do have to feel right. But a lot of people get stuck around like not doing it because it has to be perfect, and that's what I definitely did. Being perfect, not being an expert, when none of that really matters. You just need to start creating and sharing from your own perspective.
But we are experts in what we do. Yeah. We are. Yeah. And I think it's taken us some time to kind of accept that, you know, to actually accept that we actually do know a lot about what we are talking about. We do. And I think...
Well, that's why now we talk about it more.
Well, I think, you know, people...
talking about it.
No, I'm confident. I am confident. I think... And it's taken some time to really accept that and step into that. And I talked a bit earlier before we started recording just about sitting in your seat. And that's why I forced myself to sit here, because normally I would be more comfortable sitting over there where I'm not in the middle. Yeah. Even though I'm happy to facilitate a room of people in a design forum, but for some reason...
Where everyone's looking at you for 2 days straight. Yeah.
But this makes me uncomfortable to sit in the middle and hold a conversation.
Somewhere different in a home.
In a podcast setting.
Yeah.
But I'm forcing myself to do it. But as far as the social media content goes, imagine if you and I had been posting every day for like the last 8 years. We'd be in a completely different situation.
Yeah.
So don't wait on that, Ethan.
Yeah.
Well, it's now's the opportunity.
Personal brand.
I gotta get there. Yeah.
Personal brand.
I have to build that first.
You already have that. It's Eshe Skater.
What was it? What did we say?
I already forgot.
Skate Shay.
Eshe or something.
I came up with some other name with a different accent.
It's a new name every week.
I hope people can't hear that flying here too. It's
I've been worried he's been flying around me. I'm just like,
and also maybe just on the mic, just bring it a little bit closer, Ethan. Like
you
kind of want it like
get cozy, get cozy,
get cozy with it. My best bud over here.
It's like an ice cream.
And what else about the pod too? And just like in the same conversation with social media, the podcast, and what kind of results have been getting on socials? Yeah,
do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, we can all talk about it. It's been interesting, right? Because I think when you joined us, we'd started the podcast already, huh?
You'd already started it, yeah. But you guys were like, I think you only just started having like some of your first guests. Like,
okay, so it was around episode 10.
Yeah.
And do you remember how many followers we might have had when you first looked at it?
Oh, man, I couldn't remember.
I have a feeling it was like in the
I remember the views. You guys were getting like consistent around like the 8,000 to 6,000, and then
because you were here that day,
there was like one video you guys made, and like everyone in the studio was just freaking out. You guys were just like,
it went crazy. It got 1.4 million views on TikTok.
Yeah, it just went psycho.
In like no time at all.
Yeah, but the first one,
it's happening.
It was one of it's happening. It was on Charlotte's episode. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
which was episode 13, I think it was,
yeah,
or 14 or something around that. Charlotte Ivy, the naturopath. Check it out if you're interested. But there was one where it broke 10K views on a reel, and we're like, oh my God, it's happening. We're blowing up.
And then crazy.
And then it went to like 15 and 20, and I can't remember what it got to, but then that was just the first one. And then the next episode, it just kept growing. And it's been really interesting just seeing, we're not necessarily getting heaps of followers quick, even though we are getting followers quick. I think
Yeah.
we're on 1,300 and something at the moment, which is pretty good for 150 posts we've put up.
Yeah.
But the engagement of some of the reels that have had like quite viral sort of part to them, like Amy Lou's one, there was a one around birthing and DMT releasing
And oxytocin.
during childbirth,
Mhm.
releasing DMT and oxytocin, and that went on TikTok. We cleared 1 million or 1.5 million views on the TikTok reel or video, whatever they're called, and on Instagram it's on like 500,000 as well. And it was like just so interesting to see how certain thing, and then how many comments. It would just keep getting comments and every time you open the Instagram, it's like just this crazy conversation going on around birthing in the, in our account. You're just like,
It kept rolling too, and then Shannon from JPEG Culture posted it again recently, and it just went again.
yeah.
You know?
Skyrocketing
It's had a
again.
few different stages where it kind of just goes a bit stagnant and then it comes back. And it's like, obviously, I don't know what happens. It gets in the feed of something or someone shares it.
Weird how like there's like a threshold with like the algorithm with those sort of posts. Like it's like you hit over like a certain amount of number and all of a sudden they skyrocket, because that's what happened with that post. It hit like 10K views,
But
and then as soon as it hit that, it just started going psycho. Like it just kept
But
going.
I think it's because people start sharing it and stuff,
Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
and tagging.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because Shannon said she saw heaps of people share that post.
Really?
Yeah, before she posted it. And I was like, oh, interesting. Because I'd never seen anyone share it. But people are obviously sharing it because it's getting all
all
these
over the
views.
shop, yeah. It's all through the explore page, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It just knows what people are looking at, I guess. And then it's smart, the algorithm. It's just kind of gathering all this information
Stealing,
around.
TikTok's ideas.
and Graham episode's done well too, hasn't it? It's gone up.
Graham's done well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's had consistent reels, which is great because
Yeah,
they've all been really
different.
different but interesting nonetheless conversations that all sort of fit under the same theme, or they all fit together, but they're all very different in their own ways, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's cool.
yeah. And so, like, should we talk a little bit more about Wordplay as a business?
Yeah, let's
Like,
do it.
rather than because the podcast,
The
it's
pod.
clear we do the podcast. The podcast is good. We've been learning from it. We've been growing into it.
It's the review of the
keep going.
studio.
What's that?
It's the review of
Yeah,
the
so
studio. Not the pods.
Let's talk a bit now about Wordplay and actually our business Wordplay studio, which is actually a design agency, and we specialize in transformation design. And transformation design is well, it's really about taking organizations on a journey, a transformational journey, whether that's like a people and culture shift or a digital transformation, or a lot of the work that we do here is around brand and brand transformations, helping organizations to articulate their purpose, mission, vision, values, and to, shift the organization to be more purpose focused or purpose driven.
Yeah.
That's really what we do here. It's not podcasting, but we've had a lot of learnings around that too in terms of running an agency and what that looks like, especially in the context of 2022, 2023, when we're now, in a much more digital world where the workplace has really changed and leadership is having to really change, and really the world is actually having to go through lots of transformation to solve some of these problems that we're facing as humanity. So very interesting time to be doing the work that we do here at Wordplay.
It is. It's been interesting this whole time. And I feel like we're just, our calling in a way, it's no strange coincidence why we are where we are and how we got here, like I was reflecting on this the other day on Nelson's podcast. It's like, we could have gone and worked at an agency and just done that thing and worked on Google and Coca-Cola and all these, brands that we don't really align with.
Yeah.
But we chose to take our own path and go and trust the process of that we would be guided to where we need to be. And it's been a really amazing journey of transformation. And that's the work that we love to do. It's really what we it's a process that we have to do ourselves in order to do it with our clients, in ways, and the more that we're learning more about it, it's like the more that we see how all these elements interconnect, with the business and life in general. It's not just all about it's really a holistic way that we view, where the world's, and it is that shift that the world's going through. It's like less top-down corporate organizations where people are sad in their workplace and they're not contributing to anything that's meaningful. It's like really about designing a future where people are in tune with their creative gifts and they're able to offer those through their work, rather than go to work and just kind of, get zapped and go home and just dream about the weekend. And I can't remember, I've reposted, there was this great quote recently that somebody shared, Sherveen shared on Instagram. It was about like using your weekends to not escape your dream but work on them, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's really like been a big driver of us with Wordplay. It's like it's all about getting people to get in being present with their dreams and discovering their dreams and actually living them, not just having it over there on the shelf for the week. Hopefully we can get there one day. It's like, no, like let's actually talk about this, paint this picture and actually design it and start acting on it. That's really what drives us to do the work that we do. That's really what excites us. And it's it's just interesting, we're a generation, and even just all that fourth turning stuff. It's like the generation where for some reason we're here to do this work now at the time that it needs to be done. And it's interesting to see what's going to happen from, where we're at now into the next, definitely through the next 12 months as well, huh?
Yeah. It's big. It's big. Lots of transformation. And just listening to this 2050 podcast that I've been listening to, the Oxford Business School and Ernst & Young, and you're listening to the big transformations that are going on in the big corporate and all these organizations committing to, even just like emissions targets and things like that. Big change with things like AI coming in and going to replace a lot of people's jobs potentially. So it's like, what do you do with the labor force and things like that? And as a result, people are going to have to become more human, because we don't. That's really what can't be replaced, is our humanity in the way that we build cultures and tribes and bring groups of people together to make decisions.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. Well, and we're definitely. Have you? Did you ever think you'd be working at an agency that was set up like we are too? It's a bit of an interesting formation we've got.
I didn't really build any expectations coming in. I was just, but like, because of like when we talked on Zoom and stuff, all I could see was the shed and the shack and stuff. So I was like, in my head, I was like, man, their studio must be in some like shack in a backyard or something. That's so cool. Like, this is awesome. And then you're like, no, it's just downstairs. I was like, what? But no, like I love it. It's a cozy place to work, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a.
It's going through.
I guess every iteration of where we work is like a bit of a prototype, isn't it, for what's coming? And we've got, you can imagine this, on a much grander scale. We're in a more regional area these days. We're not in the middle of the city. We like to be more tapped in with nature and which is a big part of health too. We're learning more and more. The more you connected out to nature, the better your life you're going to have
100%.
On so many different levels, on chemical levels, on just
just happiness as well.
Yeah,
like just being able to go to the beach or go to one of the freshwater creeks nearby.
Yeah,
not being able to do that would just be like daunting for me, I reckon.
Yeah, and like this house is a bit of a like a prototype for something. Like we've always dreamed about having like a big or something much larger where we can actually bring people to groups of people, leadership teams or companies to do transformation work, because a lot of the work we do is or we've done ourselves has required sabbaticals as a big part of the way that we've got from jump the gap that we're needing to go through at that time. So it's like living, and now we're almost living in almost a sabbatical sort of environment to a degree, but we've got this vision where we're going to have a space where we can actually do that work on a much larger scale and connect people to the truth, get away from some of the this technology to a degree, and actually connect back to the natural world, and because that's when you have the most insightful ideas and inspirational ideas. It's not when you're sitting at the computer or in a regular meeting that you got every Monday or whatever. That's not when the big shifts happen. It's like you need to set the time and intention and resources aside to commit to something that's different, to shift your thinking in a new environment that's going to create that change, or at least create the environment for that change to 100% show itself.
That's right. And I think there's definitely more need for that stuff, going back to what I said around humanity and being more human in the workplace. And it's like when you have a look at the big change that's happened around COVID, and it's like you've got all these real estate, all these organizations with this real estate that they don't really need anymore, because now people have realized, oh, well, we can actually get away with working from home a lot of the time. In fact, it actually works quite well for a lot of people. Yep. And people got used to it, people got it. It pretty much was a decision. Like, if I'm sure a lot of big companies, if you said to them, well, actually, between when it was when that whole thing happened, it's like, could you imagine next week your whole workforce just pretty much working from home? And it would have, to have gone through that change in a normal setting would have just required so many meetings and so many, can you imagine, red tapes and all the things that would have gone along with it. But it just changed like that. Yeah. And people just, it worked. It was fine, people worked around it. It just happened. And now there's a real opportunity to get people together for really high quality, intensive engagements where they can ship really good quality pieces of work and do it in an environment which is like a sabbatical kind of environment, like what we do here. Like, get an Airbnb somewhere or get a nice place where you can go with your team and work on something in a facilitated way, and use that money that you're saving on your real estate, that you would be spending on all this office space, and just use it in a more targeted, efficient way. 100%. And it's actually quite amazing what you can do like that. And I think there's so much of a need for it, and that's something that we've been really getting into with companies is sabbaticals and doing offsites and having fun.
Yeah,
making stuff.
I was just writing a post about sabbaticals and how that those aha moments that happen within them. There's moments where everything aligns and makes sense, and it's interesting because you're like in a very stimulated environment, but you're also you're dropping the energy out of that kind of high frequency mode, and you're dropping into a more relaxed state, but you're also stimulating yourself with this new environment to influence your thoughts. It's like this beautiful combination of stimulating but also dropping down, regulating your nervous system and hearing nature, being more present, and it just makes all this, so many things just start to rise.
Creativity.
It does.
Yeah.
You're yet to experience a WordPlay
it's hard to join in on this conversation because I have no idea. I haven't even had one of those yet, but
we'll be doing one soon, I'm sure.
We'll get there.
We need to.
It's been tricky. We haven't had one since COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe up in the Daintree or get a houseboat or something for a week. That'd be fun.
I like the sound of that.
Go along the Tweed.
We'll probably be sitting in this configuration somewhere later this year doing a pod on a sabbatical on a houseboat in the Daintree.
The blimp.
the blimp. Yes, the blimp. In the cocktail lounge of the blimp.
Yeah.
So what else have we learnt this year, in terms of our work, what we've been doing in studio?
Well, and I guess should be structured in terms of the what you had some notes around Paul Check's way.
I had some notes. I got some Paul Check's things, but
what you want and what you don't
it's
want.
Basically okay, well I've got here is what he says. Paul Check, by the way, has an amazing podcast called Living 4D, and he's got one called Planning Your New Year, or Planning Your
Year in Review.
Year in Review. So one of the things that he said, you've got to kind of work out what you want for your new year, and then you can review your previous year. But what are the things that you think we must have? And so hang on, actually, let me rephrase that. He says, put on the left-hand side a column saying must have, and put on the other side must not have. So like of our, let's say 2023, what are the things that Wordplay must have and all the things that Wordplay must not have?
Yeah.
You know,
There's
what are some of the things that we learnt for us to be able to think of these things too? We had a lot of lessons this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come to my mind, and maybe we can go around in a circle or something, just say one each. And the first one that comes to my mind is around creating and being able to be seen from the outside.
Yeah.
So must have this year is being able to be seen from the outside, because that and it's actually around shifting. It's about educating and shifting the perceptions of who we are that people might already be holding.
Yeah.
Because we know what we're doing in here. We know what we're talking and living it every day. But there's sometimes a misalignment from the outside, and it's really just comes down to sharing the story.
Yeah.
Like this podcast is one.
But also this
podcast.
podcast is one step. But now people think we're podcasters.
Yeah, but we're also
So
doing
now
our.
we need to
But since
really
this year we've
confusing
been
the listeners
we've been starting our the must haves are optimizing the social channels.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. These cameras are turned off. Keep going.
Oh yeah, no good. It's about optimizing the social channels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no space on memory card. I don't know how long that was off.
Should we just pause for a second?
Okay, we had a little pause because the cameras went out and there was a fly in here, so
We've dealt with it.
we've dealt with that.
Okay, where were we? Must have, must not have.
Must have, must not have.
I think it's about being visible. Must have is be visible, and must not have is being invisible. To put it simply,
Mm-hmm.
sharing what's going on in here with the outside world, so there's an accurate perception of who we are and what we do.
Yep. Good.
What about you, Ethan?
I think must have, just from like my experience, would be not underestimating a workload. And in like certain situations, I know we've been a job that seems like it can get done quick. It turns out to be a lot bigger than you think, and you end up like having like the late nights that we did. And I think there's a way we can kind of work around it and find a way where we know like how much something's really going to take, and like have the time set for that. So I think just like that, my must not have is just like, like overload of work on on a sharp deadline. And then just like my must have is like some sort of like way to fix that.
Yeah, I think there probably were ways to fix that during that process, because we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't look at contract. We didn't set boundaries. We didn't, and that's not to the client. The client,
no, not at all.
The client would have had no idea that we were doing that stuff. They were actually I'm sure they would have been quite reasonable if we came back to them and we said, hey, this is now blowing out of scope.
Yeah.
And we need to look at X, Y, and Z. They would have been totally fine to do that, I'm sure. But I think that's another lesson in itself, is like not being a martyr and trying to get the work done and becoming a victim or a slave to the work that you love doing, is actually, being matter of fact and having a look at making sure you're checking in regularly, pulling your head out of the project and actually looking at it from another vantage point, and just kind of seeing where you're at, and actually having conversations with the people that need to have the conversations with, because we could have easily resolved that and probably requoted or done whatever we needed to do. But in the end, that's how we rolled. But we can't be doing that again.
No, not sustainable.
No.
It needs to be regenerative, what we do. The work should make you have more energy, not suck you from energy.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say it just sucks me from energy, but it's more just like you just underestimate it. Like there's a few jobs we had to get done on a few nights, and it's just like, oh, it won't take us too long to do. And then you really like, the more you get into it, the more you get like your head stuck in this project, you kind of don't really see the big, like you were saying, you need to kind of step away for a bit and see the big picture and notice, oh, we do need more time for this. Like we should have. Because
the details, like, we do, deliver really high quality work. So it's, and you want to do the best job you can. Like it's the worst feeling when you're like trying to, it's not the worst feeling, but it just makes it difficult when you're cramming and getting this thing done, because you want to make it as good as you want it to be.
You feel
You've envisioned
paranoid
it.
after the next day because you're like, I need to go back and like
Yeah,
double check everything and make sure it's all perfect.
there's always more detail to look at, but it's I think
It's hard to see it as well when you're looking at it
Yeah.
all the time. You could start
So
to not
true.
be able to see stuff.
So true. You found like you're foggy, like your head's foggy after being
Yeah.
stuck in it for so long. But yeah.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
The other thing, I know we touched on it before, was around personal brands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've spent all this time building brand for Design on Purpose and Wordplay, but it's like we haven't really invested in our own personal brand as experts
Mm-hmm.
until like this last few weeks, really.
Yeah, until yesterday.
So that's something that
Because
we
it is a
really-
bit. It's a commitment.
It's a commitment. Like if you guys really knew how much time we spent doing content and social media content and things like that in here, it's a lot. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Making content, writing content, making tiles, you know, thinking about ideas all the time, like writing them down, noting them down, you know, recording little voice memos to yourself to try and flag all the stuff that you think about. There's so much stuff that comes out when you're having conversation with people and you're like, oh, there's a post, there's a post, there's a post, there's a post. But yeah, just making sure to invest in our own brand. Like, are you really going to work with a brand agency where the founders don't have personal brands? Probably not.
Well, a lot of agencies get a lot of work and they've got no brand, which is
It's
bamboozles
relationships.
me, yeah.
It's relationships.
So
So
you
they've got a personal brand. It might not be visible on the internet, but that's
Yeah.
one way to really just scale your reach and make it so
100%.
much more accessible. And
Well, that's it. I mean, we started our agency with no connections, really. Well, we have connections. Obviously, every human has connections, but we didn't start with these big corporate connections or previous clients or projects that we've worked on. And like I mentioned this on Nelson's podcast last week, it's like when you start with nothing, no folio, and you leave your design school and you've got your design portfolio from uni, that's all you've got, and you're trying to start an agency from scratch, you have to literally start from the bottom. So you start from like cafes, little startup like coffee shops and
one-off logos for people, whatever it may
very
be.
small things, and then you literally are undercutting that because you know you're having to prove yourself to these people. Like, oh, just you need the folio, so you just do it and
Go above and beyond.
And so you build a whole folio of that, and then you need to burn that portfolio because you don't want those clients anymore. Then you want the next stage up, so then you do it again. Then you're getting like, you know, maybe businesses that have been around for like 1 or 2 years, or like, you know, so maybe you have a few employees or whatever, but then you're doing a whole series of portfolios around that same thing. Then you got to burn that one, and then it just keeps going until like how many iterations of our portfolio have we been through where we've just had to completely just throw it away
Start anew.
and start a new one. And now we're finally at a place where we're working on national brands, and it's 8 years in. It's taken us a long time to get the folio to be able to, you know, to get the work, to be able to build a folio
To get the
like
connections, to build the relationships, to get, you know, a meeting, to have the folio to back up everything you say in the meeting so they trust you, and then you get the job,
Yeah.
hopefully, if they
Yeah.
haven't gone to
Hopefully.
someone else.
Mm.
yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
It takes a lot of time, but
Yeah, it's been a journey doing that. But now, like I wouldn't have wanted to just. I don't think we would be as good as we are if we had just walked into something where we had already had those connections and it was so easy. Like we've really had to hone our skills. We've had to become very good at what we do. We've invested a lot of time in mastery. We've had really amazing teachers. You know, we are very much committed to design process here. It's very intentional. It's very purpose driven. And I think that makes for better design.
100%. Yeah. And also, we've learnt to do a lot with little resources. Like
That's
we
true.
crank out work here. Like the amount of stuff that gets done between, like even when it's just you and me, is a lot for 2 people to do, in a 5-day period or whatever. Sumo's have a team out there. The fly got him.
Flies back.
So I think you've had to learn how to work smart, whilst working hard, to be able to just get heaps done in as quickly as possible. Get high quality stuff done in short periods of times, and that's a skill in itself. Just being able to rapidly create stuff. That's
something like I've been trying to pick up a lot, just especially from watching you guys work. It's like the way you guys work is like we were talking about the other day. We're like making hundreds of different like options of a design, making them look rough as, but then just getting an idea and then going through and picking like simple ones and just finding the fastest ways to like do something. It's definitely something that when I first got here, I was just like, I knew I was slow. I knew what I was doing. I was like focusing too much on one design, whereas really I should have just been like trying hundreds of different designs. But
yeah, you kind of build that muscle just by doing it. And now my first thing is you do one thing and immediately you duplicate it. Yeah. And immediately duplicate that. And you just want to get as many out as possible. Like, don't even try and start thinking about one too much. Yeah. Just like boom, 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 boom. Just get them out. And then you can start to then go for a walk, come back, look at them again, get a new perspective. Okay. Yeah. Refine. And it's just like a constant process. Because I think a lot of designers and people in general, me included, that I've had to really train myself not to do it, is start going down the rabbit hole straight away.
Perfectionism.
Tweaking where a letter's placed on a concept thing, and you're like, what am I doing? This is, so
an hour flies by and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to stop.
Yeah, it's just not productive.
No.
Another thing is leverage. Must leverage projects. Especially the few we did last year that were high profile kind of situations, leveraging them to their max, because if a tree falls in the wood, did it make a noise? That's it. That's pretty much like
that's it.
What we can, and being a smaller team, it's easy to move on to the next project without leveraging the ones that you've got, really.
Well, we've done that so many times.
And I'm just over it. I'm so over it. I'm like, okay, we need to really just maximize this stuff, like make all the assets we need, and that's when you really find that sense of pride when you finish a job too, is when you get to share it with the world and tell the story of it. It's like, yeah, wow, all that, all those hours, all that focus, all those meetings, all those everything, the problem solving that went into creating that outcome. It's like, there it is, boom, and it's a nice feeling. So yeah, leverage is one thing to must have, and obviously to must not have is to allow things to just drop and no one hears it.
Yeah, 100%.
True. Very true.
I'm trying to think of mine, but I don't think I have one. I'm trying to think.
What's that? A learning?
Must-haves.
Must-have.
What about for yourself in terms, like, just anyway, just like, it doesn't have to be about client work, but just like with your life.
Sticking up with my routines. Last year was very bad. Like, I had a pretty good routine whilst I was like not at university, but last year I definitely stopped surfing as much, stopped working out, I just got into a very unhealthy pattern of just getting up, sleeping, like staying up late, going to uni, coming home and just like staying up late again, like just unhealthy habits. I think this year is like one of the big things I want to do is just try and build this routine again that I used to have and just stick with it.
Yeah. I think like rather than a routine, it's like a lifestyle shift,
Yeah.
Like you enjoy doing those things, so you make time for them.
And it used to like bring me lots of joy just getting those stuff done and like having a routine. It's really good for your mental health, but I think just in a change of career and kind of lifestyle for me, like transformation last year was a big thing for me too. Like I definitely want to try and get back to where I was in that sort of way. But yeah.
Yeah. Because you were a chef, right? Weren't you, before you got into design?
Yeah. I was a chef for 4 years before I dropped it. It was, chefing's good. It's good if you have a good team and you have like fun people to work with, but the moment that team goes, it kind of
Yeah.
It's really hard to find that. And like I spent a lot of time going to different restaurants, and you think, oh, this is a fine dining restaurant. It's going to be different. I'm going to meet cool people. We actually find out that it's actually the opposite, because you're doing more work for less money, and the team is like not there. So once you lose that team, it just goes downhill. And I think after like doing it for another 2 years after like finishing my apprenticeship, I just had enough. It's just like I can't keep doing this.
It's full on too being a chef. You're like on your feet for so long.
Yeah. It's like
it's high pressure.
High intensity.
It's stressful. It's
hot.
It makes you a good designer though, doesn't it? Like it's kind of perfect training
good
for being
work ethic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good for the work ethic for sure. Like it definitely taught me some things early on that I don't regret doing it whatsoever.
Garnishes.
You
know, making a plate look nice.
The WordPlay lunches look good. But yeah, I think just getting back to my old lifestyle in like health way.
Health.
It's a big one for me.
That's it. If you got health, you got nothing really.
Well, that's been a big one for us too this year, right?
Massive.
Especially the start of this year.
We'll let everyone know that. I mean, I'm sure everyone's watched us on the pod. We like to have a few beers, and you know, we definitely. I think sometimes when we're stressed, well, actually, not so, like when we're stressed, we do tend to use, I think, beer or having a drink as a bit of a way to mitigate or mediate that, and it's not the best way to do it, but it's not very healthy for you, obviously. But 3 weeks ago, we started doing a parasite cleanse, and you know about this, Ethan, but. We got on the corrective culture parasite cleanse, and we're now in we started week 4 today. We knew we needed to do something because it just wasn't sustainable what we were doing. Like we just literally were pumping out work, just super stressed, and
on a full roller coaster.
Yeah,
just like it's up and down and up and down, whether it's adrenaline from a great thing happening and then down with.
See, that's how I felt last year was for me. It's just up and down.
We were really not stable.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, how can you be stable? How can you be paying attention to what's going on in client projects? How can you be stable in your relationships, in your intimate relationships? How can you be stable in your finances or anything when you're actually just all over the place mentally because you're stressed, and then you're drinking, and then you're hungover, and then or not even just hungover, but like not even hungover, but it's like just not feeling at your best, a bit not 100% sharp in there, it's like,
and it's not just the alcohol, it's every
diet.
Substance. It's literally every substance. It's like
coffee.
Wake up, I'm tired, need to go up. Coffee, woohoo. Maybe a Portuguese tart, woohoo. Then you're coming down the other side. And then it's lunchtime and you're down again. You're like, shit,
let's have a coffee.
Yeah, or you go and eat something and you're like, ooh, I'm eating, and then it's like, ooh, down. It's like, overload, carb load, whatever it is, oils, something that's, now you're in this digestion situation where you're lethargic and slow, and you got to get yourself out of it. And then you got meetings in the afternoon, whatever, hit a few good runs, and then it's like, woohoo, time for a beer. It's like this crazy like up and down situation where, since getting off that bandwagon of using food, sugar, coffee and alcohol as ways of just, I don't know, they're not even tools, they're just things that you have there as like a comfort thing, or like something that you just instantly grab for when you've got a feeling. Like it's any kind of emotion, whether it's happy or sad. It's like, super happy, drink something. If you're sad, drink something. Like it's just like it doesn't matter where you're at.
The brain tricks you straight away.
It does, but is it your brain, or like, because we've had literally hundreds of these parasites come out, these little liver fluke things, and I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff come out since we've been doing this cleanse. But it's like, these things are just controlling your brain. They're literally just getting in there and like driving you to the impy to go and have a beer. Like.
I was saying this to my mate, I was explaining it, the importance of it. It's like, how are you supposed to trust your gut when you've got all these parasites in your gut telling you what to do? Like, it's actually that. It's like, you can't, if your gut like where your intuition lives, and you know, they say they got equal or more neurons than your brain does. If that's in fight or flight, you know, how are you supposed to be really tuned into what's going on? You're pretty much living in that flight or fight situation
constantly.
That's affecting
I felt that
your whole nervous system constantly.
I constantly felt like I was in like a state of like literally being attacked, you know. That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Subtly, like it was like undercurrent the whole time. Whereas I don't really feel like that anymore. I feel really clear.
I've felt
lost
this
6
stable.
kilos. 6 kilos down.
Just drops off, hey.
Literally, I'm gonna have to buy new pants. Like these pants are falling off me.
Go up a few notches in the belt. But yeah, I've just been. I've said it a few times to some friends talking about it, but I've never felt this stable. I think I was saying this to you today. It's just like there's no up or down. It's just like you're just on this nice even trajectory all day long. You know, maybe there's a little bit of little wave here when you're around the meals and things, but the meals are so clean and healthy and light. There's not much really dragging you down, and you don't feel like your digestive system working too hard. You feel been drinking heaps more water, been eating only organic, easy to process in uninflammatory foods, and no acidity or any coffees or anything. So it's just been like a really, you just notice how much it affects your consciousness. Like you're much more clear because you don't have all these interferences from substances, all kinds of substances, to affect the way you're feeling, which is great because you realize just how much it affects you.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's been great. I don't think we'll be going back, will we?
No, I'm into it. I like it.
We're going to do round 2. I'll have a week off next week, and then do round 2. And maybe Ethan will join us.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yes.
Just the coffee for me. Yeah, the coffee's the only thing.
Coffee's difficult, but you know, there's plenty of alternatives. I just got a new thing of chai today too. I'm excited to make a few little chais.
Can you have matcha? Can you guys have like matcha tea?
Sure, it's got to be uncaffeinated, whatever it is. So.
Oh, I don't know then.
No caffeine.
We can drink some mate next week.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
I can't wait to have a bit of mate. Okay, so what about this one? What is it that we desire to do that makes us feel good?
What is it that we desire to do?
What is it that we desire to do that makes us feel good?
Well, for me, it just feels like what we've been sort of saying. Like all these must-haves are like, in their own way, make me feel good. You know, when I'm like stepping out and, you know, making content, for instance, it makes me feel good because it's a fear. There's a nice feeling to it because you know you're overcoming this boundary that or cap you've got, you know, in some ways why you weren't doing it beforehand. Yeah, and the health too. Like I feel great right now. Being in good health, being proactive about your health, you know, another good thing, and same with the projects, like working on projects where you're working on them in a sustainable way, where you're not overextending yourself and you're maintaining a healthy relationship with the work too, which is those things all make me feel fantastic.
Yeah, I'd say like similar thing for me, just learning heaps as well. Like it's definitely a learning process for me, and that's something I really enjoyed about last year is just how much I progressed in like a small amount of time. It's definitely that. And then just like that fear factor thing as well, like trying to like do something that would usually make you like be fearful, but instead realizing that I don't know why I was scared that whole time. Like it was fine. Or like this, for example, coming out on a podcast. Like
we had to coax you on here.
If I had thought about this like a few years ago, I would have been like, no, hell no, never going to do that. Would not think about that. But like now that I'm here doing it, I'm like, this is fine. Like why did I make a big deal out of this? I shouldn't have. This is just having a chat in a lobster shack, you know.
Having a chat
just with a little lobster shack.
Some lights and cameras.
Yeah, that's it.
Just with lights and cameras.
That's it.
But yeah.
What about you, Rix?
I think for me, like it goes back to that like content thing and being seen and really what I desire to do is really just make a lot of stuff that's really useful to other people, to like share a lot of this really cool stuff that we've learned. And, you know, we're so blessed and we're so lucky to have these incredible people that we met. I love this MG Taylor methodology and all the stuff that I've learned around that. And it's endless. There's just so much. It's like 40 years plus of knowledge. Mangel in the 80s. So, you know, we've learnt so much there, and just even with our own learnings and things around brands and working with clients and purpose, I think I'd really just like to get a lot of that stuff that we've learnt out in digestible ways for people to be able to grasp it and implement it. And maybe even make, you know, just like online like content, like course materials or things like that. Maybe ebook or something, just stuff to help people get these concepts and get to work on them. Because I think it makes for better organizations, more human organizations, and when we can be like that, then we're going to have a better civilization, because people are working from a different place, purpose-oriented, rather than greed and you know, capitalist kind of mentality, which I think is what we need more of, and more collaboration. But also working with, I want to work with big clients that have similar values. You know, I'd love to have some big meaty projects to, you know, sink my teeth into, basically, but like with people that are on the same page, and just add a shit ton of value to them and their teams. That makes me feel really good. Like getting in somewhere where an organization's stuck or feeling like they've got a big challenge to overcome, and the leadership team have to, you know, a lot of the leadership teams now in companies are having to lead their teams through these transformations. It's impossible to get away from where we're at in society, where the world's going. And we've been trained. Feel like I've been in training for this for like the last, well, actually since forever, since I think my whole life has led to this. And it's like having the skill set to be able to stand beside somebody who has to go through a really complex, scary transformation project, and to be able to stand with them and guide them through it in a way where we might not have all the answers, but we know the process, we have the tools, and we can create the environment for us to get to the other side of it, and it's going to be all right. It's not going to be linear, and challenges are going to come up, but we're going to get to the other side together. I think that if I can get more projects like that with people that are aligned, that's going to make me feel great, because I love that stuff, and I find it fun. My brain just loves complexity. Like, it just thrives on complexity. Like, a lot of people that scares the shit out of them, or they don't like it, but I love it. I love complexity, so I want to do more of that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like being I really feel like this year is going to be, it already is, you know, it's only second week of Feb. What is it? 9th today?
Second week of Feb.
Second week of Feb. I already feel like this year's going to be very transformational, you know, and I'll be excited to look back, you know, from episode 40 or 50 or whatever of this, looking back to what we're like, how we look, what we're talking about.
Looking a lot skinnier than 3 weeks ago, by the
way. Just flex it.
You'll see Rix turn.
But the camera apparently puts
and then
on like
again when she faces the camera. Where did Rix go? Oh no, she's just standing on her side.
The first ever 2D.
Yeah, but I really feel like this is the year where everything that we've dreamt of with Wordplay, in terms of the type of agency that we're building and the type of life that we're building, this is the year where it's really going to come into fruition, and that's going to feel great, because I know how all the process that it's taken us to get to here, all the highs and lows, and the, you know, just the work and effort and passion that's been put into it to build this really solid foundation, which we have. And now it feels like it's just time to
Fruits.
Just share it. Yeah, it's like step it up, ramp it up, and collaborate more with people. It's like whether it's in here with having more capability to work on these projects and stepping up with who we're working with, because really that's why we started in the beginning. You know, you mentioned before we started working with cafes and stuff, but that's not where we wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, when we started, we were like kind of where we're at now in a way. We're like, oh, we're going to work with these big companies to do these purpose transformations. That's what we said at the very beginning. And you can even listen to our first podcast. That's what we're talking about, like 7 years ago, sounding very.
We sounded like little babies.
We sound so young in it.
Have you heard it, Ethan?
No.
Oh my
You've
gosh, go and listen to it.
I always forget.
It's mandatory. It's mandatory.
All right. For my next shift,
It doesn't count, though.
It doesn't count for
hours. Thanks, Jill.
It's part of the onboarding. the 7 month delay of the onboarding. This is your onboarding. You've already jumped through a few fiery rings, but you haven't listened to the pod yet.
This is the biggest one.
You'll get a lot of insight from that, because we're literally talking about where we kind of are now, I feel like, in terms of, and that's where it feels like we're just starting like this journey.
Yeah.
Especially where the world's gotten to now. It's gotten even more crazy, and
it's going to get crazier,
and it's just going to continue. And this is it. Like, we have been training. It's like we've been in training camp, doing all these, trying to just like working the way to get up to where we are now, where we can handle it. Yeah. And now we can handle it, and it's like, okay, well, bring it on. Like, that's how it feels. And it's like, and that's what, when we're doing great work with great people, we that's it. Like, that's what we love to do, and that's our purpose. It's like facilitating ectasis, so that together we realize our full potential. Like, that's really what we love to do. Like, when we're able to work with somebody that's willing to shed their shell, and we have to shed our shell with them in order to, leap the abyss and get to that next stage. Yeah. That's it. That's where the fun's at, and that's what work needs to be done too. And also, fun needs to be in the worlds, like,
yes,
100%.
World play,
guys. Let's play. Let's have some fun.
Get it happening.
Yes, that's right, isn't it? What Gail says. Play is how we escape to a higher order. So need more play. If you can't have fun,
remove the shackles and have a giggle.
If you can't have fun with a problem, you'll never solve it. No, it's true.
Yeah.
So no reason you can't have fun while solving a problem.
I think that's a big thing I noticed when I came working here too, is like, you build this picture when you hear like a design agency. You think you're walking into like this corporate space, and it's going to be like very strict and very like I don't know, it's just that whole ideation around corporate world. But then when I got here, I was just like,
we're not corporate though.
Damn.
Anything, come on.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, but I
didn't know. You think we're going to be in here wearing black turtlenecks?
I thought that's what I was walking into, man. Steve Jobs looking. But no,
we're like architects, But
because I had no I guess I didn't even really do much research when I first came in. I was just kind of like came in blind. It was very quick. Like, Jeffrey was like, "Oh, do you want to meet up with them in Zoom?" And
shout outs to Jeff, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff's a legend.
The fam in Sri Lanka at the moment.
If he's enjoying his time, it was just a bit of a rude awakening. I was like, "Oh, this is really nice. This is fun." Like, they're really cruisy people. It's not like
not that cruisy.
Cruisy.
You think we're crazy?
I think you're crazy. Cruisy compared to like the chef world, for example. I've had some bosses.
Maybe we should throw some shit at you.
That's it. You start screaming
like
and throwing stuff
things
at me. Yeah. I'm used to that. So coming here and you guys are like super chill, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is nice.
Okay, that's good.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. That's nice.
That's nice.
Okay, one other one. What working conditions do we want? So what this question is about is like, a working condition is like, do you want to work inside or outside? Do you want, what kind of environment? Is it a stressful environment? Is it a cruisy environment? Is it, what's the working conditions of our work? Do we like how things are now? Do we want to change it up? I imagine us probably moving in the next 12 months somewhere, get a warehouse space.
Yeah, I would love to see this environment change to be something more open, where there's a bit more space to be able to do your own, like, because right now it's hard to record content if people are trying to focus and have your space to do stuff. You know, it's like
There's other rooms here though. There's a spare room up there. You could set up. We could set up for content.
yeah. But it'd be which we can and we probably will. But in terms of like what the next environment would look like, I see it more like an open space where you're able to make little breakouts and stuff that. Yeah. So you're still kind of connected in that way, but you're far enough away where you don't have to intrude other people's thought processes and stuff.
Yeah.
And get more collaborative. Like I feel like with the content, with making stuff, with just the work in general, like how do we be even more collaborative, whatever that looks like, you know? And I feel like the space, like having a new environment could facilitate that in terms of like having a more connected but also more functional space for people to do what they want to do or need to do, like have that space to be able to create at any moment.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like that too. Like an MCIC kind of vibe, the Innovation Centre, right?
Yeah.
Was for that. Tinkering, making stuff, content, you know. I totally see that. Like just having a big blank canvas with modular furniture. Maybe we can even run design shops in there. You know, it's set up if we wanted to run our own workshops. Maybe
like small events.
Small events. Have like proper studio set up, like bring the shack, maybe make it a bit bigger, do another mod on it, put it in a room that's sealed for podcasting, like no noise, soundproofing, I think that's what you call it. Maybe even get Beer Creative going again, like get the beer stuff going as well. That would be really cool.
I would love to see this space like with a bit of that, also something with some functional workout kind of like mats or something where
that'd be nice.
A sauna, you know, like
nice
really
bath.
Just be able to bring it all together where there's a bit of everything to be able to do. Because if you're just feeling like, oh, I'm just, you know,
at work
here, it's like, oh, I need to stretch, I need to do something, I need to jump in the sauna, I need to have a beer or whatever. You know, it's like, but
basically we're starting a resort centre. That's
what I was just about to say. It's like we start a resort or a studio.
No, we have been like this has been a dream of ours. You know, like this is a dream. It's like having something like that.
It's the next prototype of.
And we know that the beer thing is like we love the beer. We do love the beer thing, but I think it's balance. I do think it's you know, we're very much invested in our health, but we do have this love of this. We have this beer company, and we do really want to get that going again. I do like the culture of just having a beer and sharing ideas, and you know, but it's just kind of having that healthy.
It's got to get on the ponies.
Healthy balance,
little,
you know,
little ones.
Yeah, the ponies. And I see that. I totally see that too. You know, that's the vibe. Functional, somewhere where we can do all of our things. Movement, Dr. Quiets,
Dr. Diet,
Dr.
Happy,
Dr. Happy. Yeah, so I see that happening in the next. Like, I would love that to happen within the next 12 months. Yeah. I'd also like to probably travel a little bit. I think I see us taking the podcast maybe. Go over to the States. We want to get to VCon this year. So we're trying to work that out.
Travel is a big thing because it was very much a part of my life with Wordplay too, but like I always loved traveling.
Me too.
It's like traveling was just like you always had something where you're going to go next. You never were like, oh, forget about traveling. Like but the last few years you can't like you did, and it's like now it's came back where you like got this taste again. It's like, okay, well, like we can go and get out there, you know, and we've had to move and do a lot of things. But yeah, I think this year is going to be great in terms of getting out there, building new networks or expanding the networks with people far and wide in different places that we haven't been able to access the last few years in person. So it's going to be cool to head off somewhere soon.
Yeah, it's definitely at the top of my list for this year.
Where do you want to go? Oh, just to travel?
Just to travel. We're planning on doing Thailand at the moment with my girlfriend, but other than that, whenever I can.
I'd like to go to Thailand too.
Yeah. I'd like to go to
do some training.
That's it, hey.
That's another thing I want to do. I want to do this year some jiu-jitsu camp somewhere. just go hard.
You know,
like,
there's
just
one
do
that there's like a cruise that had like a jiu-jitsu cruise that gets around.
really.
And they train on this cruise. Apparently, it's pretty
That's
fun.
mental.
Huh?
That's so mental.
Well, yeah,
I don't know,
just
Dan
get
was telling me
deeper
about it.
get deeper into it because there's so much to learn. It's hard to learn just in bits each night. You need to kind of immerse yourself in it and go for it. But hopefully we'll win some overseas clients, and who knows, maybe we'll go overseas.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, there are some talks in the moment, aren't there? So we'll see where that goes. What about, is that all on working conditions? Is there anything else? I think that's short term what we talked about, but long term, I imagine us with a big property with a big facilitation space in it.
Yeah.
Like a really nice purpose-built space to run design forums
Yeah. So
and sabbaticals.
So it sounds like the next lily pad is what we're talking about.
We're talking about the next one.
That's the next lily pad, and that one's maybe one or two after that, or who knows, maybe the one, maybe one
quicker.
after that.
Who knows? Let's see what happens with Kindly. But
Oh, that's rough.
For now, who knows? Who
For now,
knows?
yeah.
I've got hope, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. I have to say.
What else?
dream goals, objectives. Do we have any dream goals, objectives for this next year, guys?
Hit the finances, hit the targets.
Yes,
That's
that's
really-
right. We're getting a coach. We're getting a business coach.
That's really it. Just hit the targets financially, and a lot of other stuff will then be enabled. So that one's that's the main focus.
What do we have targets? We do.
Yeah, well, we don't have to talk about them specifically on here, but yes, we do have a target. The first target, we've got lily pad targets, and
Yeah, we do,
We've got
we
the short term ones, which are, if we start hitting those in the next month, we will be very happy people.
Yes, that's right.
So will Ethan.
Ethan will be happy.
I'll be very happy.
Once your hours are done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
Yeah,
have
we'll
to
chip away at those somewhere, Ethan.
Jill's going to hit me with something soon. Oh, those ones didn't actually count again, so we're going to have to...
What about responsibility? So, what level of responsibility do we want to have?
Well, I've had a big conversation with responsibility the last year with myself, because what I realized was, in order to do anything that I want to achieve, vision wise, requires more responsibility. It's just exponential. It's like your vision can only be as big as what you're willing to be responsible for.
Yeah.
So are you willing to become a millionaire? Then you're responsible of managing millions of dollars and
Let's go.
holding it. They say, what do they say? It's like 99% of people that win the lotto end up broke like within 12 months after or something.
Yeah.
It's because you don't have the responsibility. You don't have those the value of responsibility and the energetic capacity to be able to hold that energy, because money is energy, right? So yeah, I think what was the question? What
level of responsibility and
Yeah.
stress, or like can we oh no, actually stress was more around working conditions, but I guess that comes with the responsibility, because potentially if you got more responsibility, there's tendency to have more stress, and your ability to manage that stress and be responsible for that is also part of that, right?
Well, if change and complexity is exponential, I feel like it should be double of what we had last year in terms of responsibility. Like
I think we can handle a lot.
Yeah,
we can handle a lot of
the project size should
responsibility.
be double as in weight of responsibility.
Yeah. If someone gave us something to do, like if we were working with a client, we're gonna make sure that shit gets done.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I trust myself.
And there's going to
with
be
that.
no scope
I trust
creep.
us. No scope creep.
It's going to be done, and we're going to be in
we
bed
over
early.
deliver. We'll over deliver a little bit. We'll give a little bit extra. I think it's good
A
too.
little bit of caterpillar creeping around.
passionate
But
as
A
well.
little bit of scope creep is all right,
Yeah.
but I think there's a limit. But But and I think that's a good about the relationship. You know, the client wouldn't want you to go. The clients don't want you to go over what they're not paying you for. I would feel terrible if someone was doing that for us, except for Ethan. But yeah. I would. But I would want to be told. I'd want to know and want to sort it out. So you know, that's on our end. But sorry, I lost
responsibility.
Responsibility.
What level?
We can handle a lot. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the big stuff. We are doing already big stuff, but I'm ready for
the next
level of that. Yeah, complex.
What about you, Ethan? What responsibilities do you want?
I'd like to have more responsibility, but then in the same sense, it's hard with because I can only do the 2 days because of university, and I think I could pick up more, but I think until I finish university, that's something that will be harder. Maybe I need to look at university itself and be maybe I can cut down the full-time uni and do part-time and then have more time for the responsibilities. But yeah, I guess that's just a decision I have to try and come up with.
Yeah, I feel for you it's a matter of just continuing implementing your learnings.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot. You did learn a lot those last couple of projects.
Yeah.
It's and now you're here, and then it's okay, we're gonna throw you the next bone, which will be up here, and and you just got to put all that to work, and it's and that's exponential. And we've been investing in you in that sense of
100%.
being able to offload or impart any of our knowledge and wisdom and stuff. So. Yeah, it's.
I thought we were replacing Ethan with ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, we're just getting ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. I thought you were going to bring that up. I've been sweating over here.
Isn't that what we talked about?
Yeah.
I was hyping it up, and then you guys were wait a minute.
Yeah.
Of course not.
You can do 3D and copying. I don't know if we need this kid anymore.
But you're obviously a good fit to the culture here, and it'll be cool to know, at some point when the time comes to have the conversation of where it goes next. So
that's it. Yeah,
be cool. We just got to rein in some of these new opportunities coming through, and we'll be off and away.
They're coming.
Mm-hmm.
Dream goals and objectives. Any other dreams, goals, objectives?
I think that really covers a lot of it, to be honest. Yeah, stay healthy.
Get healthier. I thought I was healthy. I actually thought I was healthy.
I'm loving this diet.
Me too.
Just being connected to food again, cooking more, cooking everything. The last 3 weeks, every meal has been cooked at home. So it's that was not happening before. We're going out every day, and it's just so you don't leave. It's a nice way to we need Ethan to cook too now.
Oh, he's a chef.
He got in there for a moment today. We got some reduction of the sauce this afternoon. On
sauce reduction today.
On the ossobuco. But I feel it's a really great thing. And that's a really beautiful thing that happens on sabbatical too, is we rarely eat out. We do the big shops.
Yep.
Fridge is full and we're eating together.
Yep.
And usually it's a great time to have a break in a conversation, and somebody just each day it just changes who's taking care of the food.
Even when you're working all day and stuff, it's nice to go away and do something that's a completely different thing, and it just really takes you away from when you come back. You feel so refreshed and ready to go again,
rather than just going to pay for it and scoff your face because you're starving.
We're probably saving a lot of money.
Oh,
not drinking, eating at home, and we're eating really good stuff.
Going to save a lot on long term when you got no bloody problems with you either. All that stuff would have led to so many health complications.
I cannot, sorry to keep talking about these liver flukes, but I cannot believe how many there were.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how many.
Handfuls.
Hundreds and hundreds. Unbelievable.
I feel it was literally if you grabbed
picked
a
up
handful
your
of something. No, but if you're at I'm just thinking being at Flannery's and there's all the stuff in the flour and stuff, but pumpkin seeds. Grab a handful of them. That's how many liver flukes.
Every time you went to the bathroom.
Just heaps of them.
Handfuls.
How did that many even fit in there? like, and it function.
How's your
wouldn't have been
liver? How
functioning.
does your liver do anything normal? Like it's normal things. It's just there going, help me. How's it gonna do its
Just got
normal?
no idea.
It's crazy.
I feel so bad for my liver. Sorry, liver. Gosh, terrible. Anyway, they're out. Goals and objectives. Dream goals and objectives. Not to not have any liver flukes. Ugh.
No. Liver flukes, stay out.
Must not have liver flukes.
Must have coconut.
Coconut.
Coconut everything.
Coconut everything. All right. Is there anything else that we have missed or you think we should include in this review?
I think we've done a pretty good job.
Think it's good?
Yeah.
Tom?
I am excited. I'm excited. I am. I'm genuinely excited for what's to come. I'm feeling good. I feel like this pod was quite helpful.
Yeah.
It was helpful?
Just good chat around everything. And I think we should have more of it. Like, it's like this podcast in itself was a mini sabbatical, just stopping and having a proper chat about things.
It's like you were saying before the podcast as well. You never really get to have that time with, like, especially with people you work with, where you really just sit down and talk.
No phone, no bloody emails or things interfering.
Exactly. There's always something interfering. It's like, it is really nice to just sit down and talk.
It is.
Sabbatical, yeah.
So I think we need a 2023 sabbatical of some sort. Not sure when, but I think that's gonna really help us articulate what we are doing here now. From now.
I would like to do that Paul check, like year in review or planning a year workshop thing. Like just listen to what he's said in that podcast and actually design a workshop around it.
Yeah.
It'd be really good, actually, just to do it every year.
Yeah, for
It'd
sure.
be cool. We should
Might
do
be
that.
the first of many.
Might be.
Yeah.
All right. So is that a wrap? Are we good here?
You tell me, mate.
Anything else?
Where do we go?
Okay. So
Where do people go?
okay. So I'll do the thing. I'm gonna try. Sitting in my seat. Okay. So.
What about just before we end? What's coming for the podcast too? What are people? Do we want to? You can see this board behind us, which has got I don't know how many names on it of people we wanting to get in the shack.
Yeah, I think there's people coming. Like I've been talking to Eleanor Bancroft. She'd be really good to get in here. Can't wait to get her in here.
We should get the corrective
She's amazing,
culture guys in here too.
Corrective culture guys. They would be really good. Jo Rushton's coming in. She's a Paul Check faculty member.
Check practitioner.
And
Yeah, Iceman.
Wim
Yes,
Hof.
man,
Wim, I've been
Hof.
trying to get Wim, but he lives up here now. He lives in Australia. He lives in the Sunshine Coast, I think.
There you go.
So I have contacted his people, and I'd love to get him in.
Yeah, so if anyone knows Wim Hof,
Give him a nudge.
shout
Tell
out
him to
Wim
check his
Hof.
emails, please, because I've been emailing him.
And I'm excited to have more regeneration conversations too, in terms of some of the soil and earth stuff.
That lady that you mentioned, I forget her name, but she's really amazing. She talks about small towns or systems.
Yes.
She's talking at the gathering on Saturday that Ella's running.
Amazing. So
I'll chat to her.
I know that we would
Bruce,
love her in.
Bruce Pascoe as well. We've emailed a few times, so
It'd be great to get Bruce in.
I'd love to get him in here.
Charlie Arnott.
Charlie Arnott.
Arnott. Talk about biodynamics. That'll be interesting. Some Steiner stuff. And some education too. I'd love to chat to some people in the education field around different, the future of education with in this new world.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And you know what else I'd love to do is actually also, it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, is go out to the Darling again with the pod. Some of those Indigenous elders that we met out there, like Beryl Carmichael, for example, go and sit on her porch and do a podcast.
Just make sure Barry Helms doesn't get the mic.
That's it. But that would be really cool.
Podcast to go for hours.
That would be cool to just capture some of that,
That would be cool.
Auntie Doreen in and Nat in Bree, and yeah.
It'd be great to go up to
Adani.
up to the Adani mine as well, and hang out up there and do a pod would be amazing with the forget his name.
He's up
the
here.
Wanganjanglu guys. Awesome. Far out. Looks gnarly what they're having to go through up there right now, but that'd be cool to get them on the pod.
Wouldn't it?
Do a desert pod.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Could be great. Cool.
Anyone you want to see on the pod, Ethan?
I think you can name nearly everybody there was.
Okay.
Nearly every option.
Okay, mate.
All right. That's it.
Beauty.
Okay,
Cool.
can I try and do the ending?
Go for it.
I forgot even how to do it. Like and subscribe. What is it?
Where do you find us, Rix?
Oh, well, you
Where
can
do people
find
go
us
find us?
online, yes. We're on YouTube.
Tip.
YouTube at Design on Purpose, where you can find the full video recording of this podcast. We're also on all the podcasting channels, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play,
All the podcasting
platforms.
Audio only.
Audio only. And we are on Instagram at Design on Purpose. You can also follow our design agency if you want to see some of the work that we do here, which is not podcasting, is at WordPlay Studio. And we also are on Telegram if you want to get on the Telegram. I'd like to build the Telegram, actually, get a bit of a chit-chat going on there, but that's at WordPlay Studio. You can also follow our personal Instagram handles at Rix Lee.
At Tom Cat with triple T's on the Tom and the Cat.
E.Willman.
E.Willman.
E.Willmen.
Men.
M-E-N, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Will Man, it's Will
No.
Men.
No.
That's
The
right.
more the merrier.
And Ethan will start making content soon, won't you?
Yeah, we'll
mate?
see.
It'll be on-
It's a bit of a ghost account.
We'll just keep tagging you in things.
I'll eventually
Yeah.
have to get back into it.
Anywhere else people can find us?
WordPlaystudio.com is
Oh.
our website. We're also running a
That's what
Purpose
I was gonna
Accelerator at later this month. I don't know when you're listening to this, but we're going to be running these programs regularly. So this is actually a call out for entrepreneurs and smaller business owners, people that want to build a purpose-driven organization, which starts with defining your purpose, your vision, your mission. It's really the work that we do. It's transformation work, and it's an opportunity to work with other entrepreneurs and like-minded people with Rix and myself in a facilitated program over 8 weeks it is at the moment. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can check the link. There's a highlight in WordPlay Studio, or just send us a DM about it on any of the platforms, and we'll get back to you, and we'd love to hear more about your business. So that's one little special offering we have
Purpose Accelerator.
out there at the moment. Yeah,
Yep. Awesome.
amazing.
Very nice.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be shipping the next podcast shortly with Joe Rushton, actually.
Cool. Stay tuned.